In the dark, a gloved hand loosened a turbine bolt. Once, twice, the steel tower groaned, then leaned, cables snapping with violent cracks. It crashed into the substation. The explosion lit the sky for 30 miles. Every light in 5 counties flickered, then died. Darkness smothered 100,000 homes. The blackout struck during the worst heat wave on record. 108 degrees, no air conditioning, no refrigerators, no ventilators. In the Pine Meadows retirement home, the backup generator failed by noon. By dusk, paramedics were carrying bodies out. 3 elderly residents. One, a retired schoolteacher. Another, a great-grandmother, died from heat exhaustion. The cause, a 300-foot wind turbine that had been deliberately sabotaged, investigators later discovered. But in those first hours, the question hung over everything. Was this an accident or an act of malice? And if it was deliberate, who would set off a catastrophe that killed 3 people? The man who owned those turbines was Liam Reeves, a structural engineer. Quiet, methodical. He'd worked the land for 12 years.
Every morning, the same drive. I checked the readings before I even opened the door. Old habits.
His 3 turbines fed power directly into the regional grid. 5 counties relied on them. For years, the turbines ran without a major fault. Liam kept maintenance logs so detailed they bordered on obsessive.
I know every bolt's torque, every blade's RPM. It's pride and precision, nothing less. When the grid is stressed, these turbines are the difference between lights on and a blackout.
That responsibility never left his mind. Not for a moment. At dusk, he'd drive home, the turbines whispering their steady song behind him.
If something ever happened to them, it wouldn't just be my loss. It'd be everyone's disaster.
But the land was quiet that evening. The wind blew, the turbines turned, and Liam Reeves had no reason to doubt them. 3 miles from Liam's wind farm, Pamela Hatcher chaired the Ridgeline Estates HOA, with an iron fist wrapped in a hot pink quilted jacket. At every HOA meeting, she turned complaints into threats.
Those turbines are a menace. The noise is unbearable. And those lights, they strobe all night like a cheap disco.
But the turbines stood on Liam's land, outside HOA jurisdiction. He'd ignored every letter, every petition.
I've written the county, the state, even the Energy Commission. They all say the same thing. His property, his rights.
The HOA members started avoiding the meetings. Her rants grew longer, more personal.
You think I am overreacting? Wait until one of those blades flies off and crushes someone's roof. Then you'll all be sorry?
Her husband told her to let it go. The neighbors laughed behind her back. Pamela Hatcher wasn't built to lose.
I won't be humiliated by some engineer in a plaid shirt. If nobody else will do something, I will.
That night, she sat in the dark, watching the red lights blink, and the idea began to take shape. Pamela scrolled through her phone. She knew a man who did the jobs nobody else would touch. Don Mercer, a contractor with a gambling debt and a flexible conscience.
Done. I need a job done. Quiet. Fast. No questions.
They met behind an abandoned truck stop at dusk. Pamela handed him an envelope stuffed with watermarked drawings.
You want me to take down a wind turbine? That's federal property, lady.
It's on private land. I filed a maintenance request. You are just loosening a few bolts. 20,000 cash.
20 grand for a few bolts. If the wind does the rest, it's not my problem.
From her purse, she pulled a fake work order, stamped with a forged county seal, authorizing routine maintenance, Turbine, number 2.
Next Tuesday. They're calling for strong gusts. I'll need half the payment now.
Pamela wrote a check from an HOA auxiliary account, untraceable, she believed. Then she watched his tail lights fade. The countdown had begun. In 5 days, the wind would rise, and a single loose bolt would rewrite history. Don Mercer killed his truck lights a mile out and walked the rest of the way, wrench heavy in his grip.
Turbine number 2 on the East Ridge. Don't even use the flashlight until I'm behind the base.
He knelt at the cold steel pedestal and ran his gloved hand over the anchor bolts. 8 total. He'd undo 4. The wrench fit over the first nut. Dawn leaned into it, and the bolt gave a low moan as it began to turn. Wind hissed through the grass. Dawn paused, scanning the fence line for headlights, then resumed. Second bolt. The socket slipped once, scraping metal. He cursed under his breath and reset it. Sweat dripped into his eyes. 3 bolts undone. 4. The tower seemed to exhale as the last threads gave.
That'll do it. The morning wind will take care of the rest. Get out now.
He wiped his prints off the wrench, trudged back to the truck, and drove without headlights until the main road. Behind him, turbine number 2 stood silent, its base unbolted, a death sentence waiting for the morning gusts. At first light, the wind rose. A 30-knot gust hit the ridge, and turbine number 2 began to sing a different note. The steel groaned, deep and wrong. Cables snapped like gunshots. The tower tilted 5 degrees. 10. It crashed through the substation fence and split the transformer bank. The explosion shook the ground for a half-mile.
What was that? Sounded like a transformer blowing. The turbine. It's gone. I can't see number 2 from the window. There's just smoke.
Inside his house, the lights flickered once, twice, and then the world went dark.
The whole valley. Everything. This isn't a simple fault. It's a cascade failure. I checked those bolts 2 weeks ago. They were torqued to spec. They don't just back out on their own.
He grabbed his keys and drove through the dark. The turbine lay across the access road, the substation still arcing blue sparks.
This wasn't an accident. Somebody wanted this tower to fall.
By the second day, the blackout ground on. A merciless heat wave pushed temperatures to 108 degrees. No air conditioning, no fans. At Pine Meadows retirement home, the backup generator had failed overnight. Staff fanned residents with magazines. It wasn't enough. Paramedics arrived in waves. 3 stretchers rolled out under white sheets before sunset. One was a retired schoolteacher. Another was a great-grandmother. The third, a former librarian. All dead from heat exhaustion. News banners flashed across every screen. 5 counties dark. Death toll rises. The catastrophe had a face.
Deaths from a blackout? It was only supposed to be a few hours, just enough to teach him a lesson. They'll trace it back. The bolts, the work order, someone will talk.
Her hands trembled as she poured a glass of wine, but it did nothing to steady her. The television kept showing names,
Doan, call me, right now.
but the line only rang. The sabotage that Pamela Hatcher ordered had become a funeral, and for the first time, real fear crept in. Liam arrived at the crash site before dawn. 2 sheriff's deputies stood by the cordon tape. He didn't stop to explain. He walked straight to the pedestal.
4 anchor bolts backed out clean. No fracture. No fracture. No fatigue. Somebody put a wrench on these.
He photographed every tool mark, every thread. Then, he called the County Emergency Operations Center.
This was sabotage. Turbine number 2's anchor bolts were intentionally loosened. I need state energy, and I need them here now.
The dispatcher's voice crackled back. Sir, this is a federal matter now. Contact FERC immediately. Within 2 hours, a regional FERC response team was in the air from Denver. The case number went active before sundown. A formal report was generated. Critical infrastructure sabotage suspected. Loss of life involved. The stakes were now federal.
Good. They'll find what I found. And then we'll find who did this.
He bagged one of the loosened bolts in a plastic evidence bag, hands steady. The chain of custody was already being documented. The investigation had begun, and somewhere the person who'd paid for those bolts to be turned was watching the news and braking. Agent Harris stepped out of the FERC van, her team already spreading across the debris field. She carried a clipboard and a calm that was almost unsettling.
We have 4 bolts that show clean tool marks. This was a human act, not metal fatigue.
Forensic teams photographed every inch of the pedestal. They swabbed for DNA, took paint samples, measured the torque that remained.
Mr. Reeves, your initial assessment was correct. We're treating this as a deliberate attack on critical infrastructure.
Attack. That's the right word. Someone wanted to hurt us, and they succeeded.
Keep your head down. Go to the HOA meeting, smile. No one knows. They're interviewing everyone who ever complained. I complained for years. I am on every record.
The investigation narrowed immediately. Who had the skills to loosen those bolts? Who had access to the site?
We're pulling maintenance logs, service vehicles, and any work order submitted in the last month.
The net was tightening, and Pamela Hatcher could already feel the cold steel closing around her throat. Liam watched as Agent Harris opened the maintenance logbook. On a page stamped 3 days before the collapse, a work order nobody recalled authorizing.
Routine maintenance, turbine number 2. Certified by a county seal that doesn't match the official registry.
The seal was a clumsy forgery, but the name on the contractor line was real. Don Mercer. They traced his truck to a bar called the Rusty Nail. Don was nursing a beer when 2 federal agents walked in.
Your truck was a mile from the wind farm at 2:14 a.m. that night. Explain.
I was home all night. Ask my ex-wife. That truck gets loaned out to half the county.
Then they placed the fake work order on the table. His name, his license number. The forgery stared back at him.
That seal was supposed to pass. She told me no one would look.
Agent Harris had seen enough. She called for transport. Don Mercer was now a federal person of interest in a sabotage case. Handcuffed in the federal van, Don stared at the floor. The money hadn't felt dirty until now.
You know what happened when that tower fell, Don. 3 people died. Grandmothers. A teacher.
She slid 3 photographs across the table. Faces of the deceased.
They were just bolts. I never thought people.
You are facing terrorism-adjacent charges, Don. Life in federal prison. Or you can help us. Prove you were just the hand.
She'll bury me if I talk. But I can't do life for a woman who paid me 20 grand. All right, I'll talk. I didn't know people would die. I just loosened the bolts.
Who hired you, Don? Give us a name.
Pamela Hatcher. The HOA lady who hates the turbines. She gave me the fake order. Said it was her property.
The HOA chair. She filed a dozen complaints against Reeves. Motive, money, and now a confession.
Within the hour, Don signed a proffer agreement. Full immunity for his testimony. The name Pamela Hatcher was now on an arrest warrant. 2 FERC vans and 3 patrol cars pulled into the Ridgeline Estates cul-de-sac.
Pamela Hatcher, you are under arrest for sabotage. Step out of the house.
You can't be serious. Do you know who I am? I chair this HOA.
Neighbors spilled onto their lawns. Phones raised. The hot pink jacket was unmistakable. Harris gripped her arm and secured the handcuffs. Miranda rights were recited.
This can't be happening. I'm not going to jail over some noise complaints.
She tried to twist free, but the cuffs bit into her wrists. Defiance turned to panic.
I want a lawyer. This is harassment. The turbines belonged to me.
They walked her past the gawking neighbors to the federal van. Camera flashes popped. The doors slammed shut. Pamela Hatcher's reign ended in a single afternoon. The story broke before sunset. Every local station ran the same banner. HOA chair arrested in wind turbine sabotage. Within hours, the mugshot went viral. Pamela Hatcher's hot pink jacket became the image of entitled destruction. In the Ridgeline Estates clubhouse, the HOA board called an emergency meeting. No one wanted to be associated with her. One board member whispered, "She's destroyed us." The vote to immediately suspend her was unanimous and swift. The HOA's insurance carrier sent a preliminary notice of investigation. They cited deliberate criminal acts as grounds for voiding coverage. Without insurance, the HOA and every homeowner could be personally liable for the blackout damages. In a county holding cell, Pamela watched the news on a small mounted television. Her own face stared back, arrested for 3 deaths.
They'll hate me forever. The whole neighborhood. Everyone.
Online comment sections turned into fire. Someone dug up every old HOA complaint she'd ever filed. The hashtag number Pink Jacket Karen trended nationally. The word terrorist appeared in the first federal briefing. The case was no longer local. A federal grand jury indicted Pamela Hatcher on 4 counts: critical infrastructure sabotage, conspiracy, and 3 counts of negligent homicide. The sabotage charges carried terrorism-adjacent statutes, meaning a maximum sentence of life in federal prison without parole.
Life in prison. For blinking lights and a petty grudge. She's destroyed.
The HOA's insurance carrier filed a formal denial of coverage, citing the Deliberate Criminal Act exclusion. Certified letters arrived at every house in Ridgeline Estates. Each homeowner was now personally named in the liability chain. The letters estimated $80 million in cascading damages: grid repairs, lost business, emergency services costs. Inside the HOA clubhouse, residents wept. One man spoke of losing his retirement. A woman tore the letter in half.
I didn't want this. They were her victims, too.
Liam stared at the FERC report, knowing the right thing had been done, but feeling no peace. The repaired turbines would spin again, but the wound in the community would take decades to close. Pamela had been in federal detention for 3 weeks when Trent finally appeared at the visitation window. He sat down slowly, his eyes never meeting hers. The glass between them was cold and smear-stained.
Trent, thank God. I've been going crazy in here. Have you hired a better lawyer?
Lawyer? Pamela, every house in Ridgeline is underwater. Our neighbors are losing their retirements because of you.
I was trying to protect our community. That engineer ignored every complaint. The lights were...
You killed 3 people, Pamela. One of them was...
He stopped himself, biting down on the words. The truth he'd come to deliver was too raw to speak yet.
Our life is over. Everything we built. Your pride burned it down.
He replaced the receiver and walked out without looking back. Pamela pressed her palm against the glass, but he was gone.
He didn't even say he loved me. He didn't say anything.
The list of the deceased was released to the media. The third name on it made the anchors pause. Evelyn Hatcher, 74. Mother-in-law to the woman who had ordered the sabotage. The news report ran on the prison's mounted television. Pamela Hatcher watched her own mother-in-law's photograph appear.
Evelyn, I killed my husband's mother.
She had hosted Christmas dinners with that woman, argued over recipes. Now Evelyn was a name on a fatality list.
He was going to tell me at the visitation. He stopped himself. He couldn't say his own mother's name.
A sound came from Pamela's throat that the guards would later describe as inhuman. Across town, Trent sat in a private room at the funeral home, clutching a worn photograph of his mother. His wife had murdered his mother. The thought replayed in his skull like a splinter. The woman who had complained about blinking lights had extinguished 2 generations of his family. The second visitation was different. Trent made no eye contact, his voice flat as concrete.
I buried my mother yesterday. She was in a closed casket because of the heat, because of you.
Closed casket. She can't even look peaceful. I did that.
Pamela's lips trembled. She reached for the phone, but Trent had already pulled his away.
My mother, Pamela. You murdered my mother. I don't know who you are anymore. The woman I married wouldn't loosen bolts to kill people. I'll have my lawyer send the papers. It's over.
Pamela sobbed into the mouthpiece, no words forming, just ragged breath. He hung up, stood, and walked to the exit without a backward glance. The guard buzzed him through. Pamela Hatcher was now a widow in all but certificate. The visitation window went black, and her cell became a tomb.
He's gone. It's really over. I have nothing left.
Evelyn Hatcher's funeral was held on a gray Tuesday. The mourners were few, neighbors who remembered her kindness, none from Ridgeline Estates. Trent sat in a wheelchair near the grave, too exhausted to stand. Grief had hollowed his face into something unrecognizable. As the casket descended, he reached into his coat and pulled out a folded document. His lawyer had delivered the divorce papers that morning. He'd requested them before the service began. With a trembling hand, he signed the final page. The word final was already stamped in red. No one interrupted. The few mourners understood. This was what pettiness had cost. He folded the decree and tucked it back inside his coat. The casket reached the bottom of the grave. The service ended without mention of Pamela. She had been erased from the family line. The mourners dispersed, leaving Trent alone under the gray sky. He didn't move for a long time. At a graveside, a man buried his mother and his marriage in the same hour. It was the ugliest picture of justice anyone had ever seen. The sentencing came a month later. Pamela stood in an orange jumpsuit, no makeup, no hot pink jacket. The judge called it an act of terrorism, adjacent sabotage. No leniency. 25 years federal time. Liam was called as a victim impact witness. He spoke for less than 2 minutes.
3 people died because someone thought noise complaints outweighed public safety. Infrastructure needs protection, not pettiness.
Pamela's eyes stayed fixed on the floor. She didn't look at him, not once. Outside Ridgeline Estates, for sale signs dotted the lawns. 3 homes were already foreclosed by the banks. Liam returned to his land. The turbines had been repaired, spinning gently in the November wind. He walked the fence line, passing the memorial plaque for the 3 victims. Back in his cabin that evening, there was no victory in his stride. Only the heavy silence of a man who'd done what was necessary. The cost had been 3 lives, $80 million in cascading damages, and a neighborhood shattered beyond repair. In his cabin, Liam sat by the fire and read the final FERC investigation report. Every bolt, every phone call documented.
It's all here. The fake work order, the tampered bolts, her signature on the check. Concrete.
He set the report down and walked to the window. The repaired turbines turned in the winter wind.
They're spinning. The grid is stable, but those 3 names are carved on a plaque now.
He pulled on his coat and walked the fence line one more time, stopping at the small bronze plaque he'd had installed.
Evelyn Hatcher, Margaret Sloan, Dorothy Weiss. I didn't know them, but I know their names.
His fingers traced the metal. The wind was cold but gentle.
Justice was done, but it's not a victory. It's a scar.
Back inside, he sat in the dark, watching the blinking red lights through the glass. The noise had become a whisper.
They'll keep spinning. I'll keep watching. That's the job.
A young child walked across the green field toward turbine number 2, clutching a small bouquet of wildflowers. The child knelt at the concrete base and carefully placed the flowers against the cold steel. Overhead, the repaired blades turned in the steady breeze, their quiet hum filling the valley. The field was peaceful now, the turbines casting long, gentle shadows in the warm evening light. Nearby, the bronze memorial plaque caught the last sunlight, its 3 engraved names still clear. Margaret Sloan, Dorothy Weiss, Evelyn Hatcher. They were not forgotten, not on this land. A gentle wind lifted the child's hair. The turbines never stopped spinning, never stopped giving. As dusk deepened, the blinking red lights on the towers began their quiet, rhythmic pulse. Night fell over the wind farm, and the stars emerged, blinking in time with the silent towers. Some winds never stop blowing, and some lessons are carved deeper than stone. Dawn broke over the wind farm, painting the turbines gold. Liam Reeves walked his land as he always had, his boots pressing familiar paths. He passed the memorial plaque without fear. The names were part of him now. Inside his cabin, the FERC report sat on a shelf, its pages worn and thumbed. The investigation was closed. The grid was stable. Life continued. Yet, on quiet evenings, Liam would stand at the window and watch the red lights blink. They had been the cause of so much grief, yet they were necessary. The child's flowers still lay at the turbine base, their petals trembling in the night breeze, and the wide, starry sky swallowed the silence, holding the land in its ancient calm. Some winds never stop blowing, and some lessons are carved deeper than stone.